So I'm dusting off this ranking video again because it is spooky season and why not? And today we're going to be ranking the Universal monster movies. These films, I've done a ranking before, but it was a little different because I used a different Phantom of the Opera. But now, since then, Universal Studios has been like, nah, we're not going to bother with that one anymore. We're going to go with the original one. Because even though it's public domain now, it's still ours and people like it. So we're going to have a redo of that. So just to be clear, for this ranking, I will be using the original 1925 Phantom of the Opera in this film, in this ranking. And I will also be ranking, I will not be ranking the Claude Rains one, which isn't bad. It never felt like a true Universal monster movie. It felt more like it was trying to be better. And it did win an Oscar. I will say that. It did win an Oscar, but the thing of it is that it just doesn't feel like the Universal monster movies. I also will not be ranking the Hunchback of Notre Dame because I still, as much as I love these films, I still do not like the idea of the Hunchback as a Universal monster because it does not work with the story. So yeah. We're not going to have now. If you want to have the Claude Rains or the Hunchback in your rankings, that's totally fine. I personally won't. And as always, if you think a movie should be higher or lower on the list, that's totally fine. But this is just my personal ranking. I'm always excited to hear yours. And we're not going to rank every single Universal monster movie. I do have an idea to do a Universal monster sequel, like my top 10 favorite Universal monster sequels. So we're not going to do all over 50 movies for the entire franchise for this ranking. We're just going to go with the original films, with the first appearances of the monsters. So, keep that in mind. I do want to do, like, sometime during this month my top 10 Universal monster sequels, but we will get to that later. Anyway, so let's get started with the bottom. And also, even though I think if there's a movie at the bottom, there are things I do like about them. I love these films. So let's get started. So we're going to go from least favorite to favorite, and to kick things off, it's The Mummy at the bottom. The Mummy, I think aesthetically is pleasing. It's a very beautiful film. It's very dreamlike. And that opening scene with Karloff in the full mummy bandage, waking up and scaring the ever-loving bejesus out of that one guy, it's one of my favorite scenes in horror, period. It is by far one of my favorite horror scenes at all. Just that whole thing of, like, you wait for a little, just that absolute insanity the guy just breaks into. Yeah, but having said that, though, it's just a repeat of Dracula. Karloff kills it in this movie, but at the same time, it's just boring. There are parts where it's boring. None of the other characters outside of Karloff are interesting, and yeah, it's beautiful and dreamlike. At the same time, though, God, is it a slog to get through? It really does feel like it. Thank God for Karloff carrying that film. Anyway. So, moving on up to our next film. Our next film is actually Phantom of the Opera, 1925. Lon Chaney's big film as the Phantom. Now, this movie is a work of art. It's beautiful, and I'm not and you're probably thinking, why you're ranking it so low? Is it because it's a silent film? No, absolutely not. This was actually pretty hard to rank, like to put them all. I knew where Mummy was going to be, but everyone else was like, where do I put all of you? But Lon Chaney, this is arguably his best performance and his most notable performance outside of Quasimodo. He basically gave it his all in this film. And the movie is beautiful. It is a beautiful film, and not to toot my own horn, but I did recently interview Antonia Carlotta. I will not shut up about that. Thank you very much. You can not even bother typing that in the comments because I did that. Antonia Carlotta, she is the great-grandniece of Carl Laemmle, the founder of Universal Studios, and her great-aunt actually was one of the dancers in this movie. So, excuse me if I like to toot my own horn about doing something that big on this channel. shut the fuck up. Why did I get hostile there? I don't know. Where was I? Oh, right, the film. So, getting back on track, this movie is beautiful, and it sucks that the studios, the stage is no longer there. I really think this is a work of art, and it's one of Universal's, like, in their early days, one of their greatest achievements. The reason why it's a little lower is because I do feel like the movie has the same problem as The Mummy, where if it isn't Lon Chaney on screen and you're not looking at the big spectacle of it all, the other characters are just kind of there. Like, it has that same problem where if Lon Chaney's not on screen, what is the point? Like, what is the point? But it's still good. Like, it's a work of art. It did some amazing work in silent film work. I said work like 3 times. I'm sorry, my brain just skipped out. But yeah, the problem is that when Lon Chaney's not there and you're not looking at the absolute spectacle of, like, the stage, whew, you feel it. Anyway, so there you go. Next up, we have Dracula. Okay, hold on, stop, wait, hold on, guys, stop. Dracula, for me, is a great film. Bela Lugosi, every performance from here on out is going to be, of Dracula, is going to be compared to him. He is the original Dracula. And, Dwight Frye's Renfield is just another great character work in its own right. This movie was one of the first talkie films. What I mean is it was one of those first films Universal Studios did with sound, and it was not so much based off the book, but the original Broadway play. So you have to keep that in mind. But by God, if Edward Van Sloan, if Van Sloan, Lugosi, or Frye aren't on screen, whoo, it's bad. Woo. And I get it. Like, this movie was like one of the pioneers at Universal it's one of those first films that had a talkie film, talking in it. And they really didn't have the budget for it. Because remember, Dracula was a big gamble for Universal Studios. They didn't want to Carl Laemmle didn't want to do horror, but Carl Laemmle Jr. really wanted to helm it. And by God, this movie also kicked open the door for horror to be a thing. It saved Universal Studios. So it does deserve that. But having said that, it does show its age. I will also give a quick shout out to the Spanish Dracula. I didn't know where to put it, but I want to give a quick shout out to the Spanish Dracula because that is also really good. Also, real quick, I also listened to the rendition of I recently listened to it because I didn't know it was a special feature on the DVD. I discovered that Philip Glass had done a whole musical composition for Lugosi's Dracula. So they had an option where you're like, do you want to watch the movie with Philip Glass's music? And for those who don't know Philip Glass, he's a great composer. You would mostly know him from the Candyman, from the music from Candyman. I think it's good, but I also feel like it's overwhelming at some points, and I like the silence. Because remember, there was no music in the original Dracula, so I kind of like the silence. It kind of adds this unease to it. So yeah, there we go with Dracula. Following that, we have The Wolfman. The Wolfman kind of bumped up a little bit in my rankings. The Wolfman, actually I have a new appreciation for the Wolfman because you don't get a lot of him in the film. But by God, Lon Chaney Jr. is a fantastic actor. I know people point and laugh at some of the roles he took, but he was kind of cornered into it by Universal because they wanted to cash in on his father's name. In fact, his name's not really Lon Chaney Jr., it's Creighton Chaney. But I digress. The point being, he gives a phenomenal performance. And my girlfriend brought this up because this became one of her favorite of the Universal monster movies. She basically pointed out that like it's like a psychological horror where the guy's brain, like he went from this suave, very cocky guy, and you see like the facade just melt. I can't snap my fingers, but like it just fades like that, and it's more like him just devolving. And I think that was the original idea for the Wolfman, where you have the wolf, like is it a werewolf? Is it not? And then Universal was like, hey, you said you were going to put a werewolf in this movie, Seod Mac. Put a goddamn werewolf in this movie, okay? Yeah. So the Wolfman. Having said all that, it's a beautifully gothic film. It's got some of the best atmosphere in the entire Universal monster franchise, and yeah, I really do enjoy it. I really love it, and the makeup on the Wolfman is just perfection. Yeah, so the Wolfman. Moving on up, we have Creature from the Black Lagoon. This is like the original monster, like adventure film, like the adventure horror film. Like I feel like if we didn't have Creature from the Black Lagoon, we probably wouldn't have like movies like Predator or Dog Soldiers. This is that. Like this, I mean, yeah, you can make the argument King Kong did that, but like this also was kind of that, fun adventure kind of storytelling in its own right. The Creature is a great monster design. It's if and when we get James Wan's remake, I don't know how you're going to not mess that design up. The cast is really great. Everyone has this energetic feel to them. And it's just a great movie. And remember, this was the first movie that was shot underwater too. Remember that. So it also has that going for it, and it's just fun. It's just a fun movie. I will say that the one of the few knocks I give this movie is mostly because, well, the Creature's theme is everywhere. Every time he shows up, you hear ba 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 ba. And it gets annoying. It really does. Anyway, so there you go. Creature from the Black Lagoon. Next up, Frankenstein. I know Dracula came first. That was the first Universal monster movie. But let's be real. Frankenstein is the face of the Universal monster franchise. This also gave Boris Karloff the break he needed. For those who don't know, he was 44 when he put on the monster makeup. Yeah, 44. I'm not joking. And that basically it wasn't like with Lugosi, who always kind of resented being Dracula. Here, Karloff was always like, yeah, it gave me my first big break, and, I don't care if I'm doing horror movies, I'm getting work, and people are seeing me. I like that. I like that about this character. Colin Clive was fantastic. This movie is dark, atmospheric, and literally, you cannot do a Frankenstein movie without someone going, "It's alive." That was never in the book. That was always in the original film. Like, you cannot for the life of you do a Frankenstein movie. Even the movie Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was more around the book, and even he did "It's alive." That's how intrinsically tied it is to pop culture and the zeitgeist. It's a beautiful movie. It's a movie that actually broke barriers. And yeah, I know a lot of people. I also give it points because I really love that intro from Edward Van Sloan, who's like, "Well, we warned you." I like that intro. I just think it feels like it sets up the move. And I know like people are going to say, "Oh, this movie isn't scary." You have to put your mindset in 1931, in like 1932. You have to put your mindset there, where horror was a lot different back then. This was arguably an incredibly scary movie for people. Like, there are stories and documents of people, and maybe a little exaggerated. We do that to this day of like, oh, people were vomiting or passing out in the theater. People were apparently running out of the theater because after first seeing Karloff. It's the same thing of like when just to go back to Lon Chaney's Phantom. when he took off that's classic scene in the film where he takes off that mask, people were screaming and fainting in that scene. It was the same effect there. But yeah, it basically became the face of the franchise, of the Universal Monster franchise, with the Frankenstein monster. So it's really high. I still love this movie. Next up at second place, The Bride of Frankenstein. Literally perfection on top of perfection. Only James Whale could do that. Even though, yes, The Bride only has 3 minutes of screen time, maybe even less than that, this is a beautiful movie. This is one of the greatest, not just horror sequels, but like movie sequels in general. It is a work of art. It is Elsa Lanchester, for the 3 minutes she has, gives a stunning performance and is memorable. The whole thing of the monster learning to talk, and also all these biblical images, like perfect example of like the villagers essentially crucifying the monster and him finding, peace and all of that, and talking. It's a great film. It is one of cinema's greatest achievements. But there is one movie I really like, and some of you might already know what the number one is if you saw my top 10 favorite movies of all time. And this is a movie I absolutely love no matter what. It's also the last 3 movies were from James Whale. No shock. It's The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man, I know in 1933, like, the technology wasn't there. The technology then to make a man invisible is paltry. Like, you could do this on your phone now, but take your brain back to special effects back then in 1933 and think on that, of how much that had to work. That's also great. And the movie is shot, it's a great comedy too. It's like one of the first horror comedies. Claude Rains gives a stunning performance as the Invisible Man. He is electric with just his voice alone. Everyone in the cast is great. There is great cinematography, and there's just fun. There's just a great there's just a feeling that this was something James Whale really wanted to put his mark on. So yeah, The Invisible Man is my favorite of the Universal Monster movies. But you guys tell me in the comments below, where do the original Universal Monster movies rank for you? And like I said, I'll probably do like a top 10 favorite Universal Monster sequels. But until then, where do the original Universal Monsters movies rank for you? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, Multiverse.